And she's very proud that her family was awarded the Texas Century Farm Award in 1992. Since college, Jennie Lou has coached and taught in public schools for 11 years. After leaving the classroom, she worked for Horace Mann to help teachers with their insurance and retirement plans. Never far from education, Jennie Lou transitioned into educational curriculum sales. She is also currently a USA Certified Head Swim Coach. Jennie Lou is a lifetime member of the San Antonio Livestock Show and Exposition, a member of St. Mark's Episcopal Church, and is a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. With that, Jennie Lou Leeder, our
Thank you, AM, and thank you for everybody coming out on this cold morning. Who would have thought that we would have a 30-degree temperature swing from yesterday to today and 40 from today to tomorrow? But this is Texas, and we always grew up that if you don't like the weather, blink and it will change. So we definitely have had some change. This is my third time to be in Glasscock County, and just thank you all for coming this morning. You know, something that happened Easter Sunday, I went to early church, and I go to the Episcopal church, and everyone's like, oh, that's a Republican stronghold. What are you doing there? And I'm like, well, my family's always gone to the Episcopal church. And I got out of church Sunday morning, and I'm part of the greeting group, and just to make everybody feel welcome. And I walked out by the stairs, and I go to early service, and nobody was there. So I stood there, and I was like, okay, I'm going to greet. It's not my Sunday, it's not my time, but I'm going to stand here and greet. And as I was greeting, people were coming in. I'd say, good morning, happy Easter. And they'd say, good morning, happy Easter. And it's like the fourth or fifth person came up and they gave me a hug and said, go get them. I'm like, okay. I go to church in San Antonio. I live in Llano. I work in Austin. I travel. And finally I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, I got your email. I donated. I was like, oh, awesome, thank you. So I had been very careful with my church family on who I was telling that I was running, because I didn't want to step on toes in sending things out to church. But evidently, one of my friends sent it out to all of our friends at church. So Easter Sunday, a Sunday that I was kind of down in the dumps because none of my family was with me. I had all these people saying, go get him, go get him. That's what we have to do as Beto and I go across Texas. He has many more counties than I have. I only have 29. I'm not going to complain. I only have 29 against 254. But that's what we have to do, is we have to share our message. And my message is about education, and about healthcare, and about infrastructure, and border security, and about DACA. I mean, the thing is that we all have to work as a group together for all of this to work. We have to work as a group together to fund our public education, to have good roads and bridges. And infrastructure is not just only good roads and bridges, it's plumbing, it's electric grids, it's everything that we need for our lives to work. So, I mean, that Sunday morning, last Sunday, it just brought everything to bear. That yes, I may be in 29 counties and San Antonio is not part of my group, but everything that we need, we all are working together, and we're independent on each other. So that's my message this morning, is that when you turn on the news or you turn on MSNBC, and I love to listen to it, coming out this morning, I was like, gosh, that guy doesn't think like I think that's on the radio. But even if we don't think alike, we still have to reach that hand across the aisle. We have to talk to our neighbors that live next door, who may, at night go down and take out my sign and lay it on the ground. At least they didn't throw it away. But they laid it quietly on the ground, because we don't talk and we don't think alike. But we have to find that common ground. Right now, our nation is in great peril. Our schools are being torn apart because they're wanting to do vouchers. Our roads and bridges are falling apart. Our energy grids, we found out that Russia has been able to tap in and has been able to control those if they want. So this is a time that we really have to come together as Americans, work together to fund our schools, to fix our infrastructure, to make sure our borders are safe, And to me, safe does not mean building a wall. All that money can be used for our infrastructure and for our schools. We don't need a wall. So I know AM said keep it short, because everyone who knows me knows that I can talk forever of the day, because everything in this state is important to me, and I love this state. So I'm going to ask you for 3 things. If you have a cell phone, I'm going to ask you to get out your cell phone. And I'm going to ask you to find me on Facebook. It's Jennie Lou Leeder for U.S. Congress. Find us on Twitter, Jennie Lou Leeder. We're on Instagram. Carrie does that. I'm not an Instagram person. I am the Twitter person. I can tweet like everything. Those stoplights, you're honking at me behind. Just let me be safe and finish my tweet. I'll go when I'm ready. So find us on Facebook. Find us on Instagram. Twitter, our .com is Jennie Lou Leeder. We're so excited that our web store was up and running on Friday.
All right.
So you can get T-shirts and mugs and koozies. My dad was like, a koozie? I said, yes, sir. He goes, is that for German soda water? I said, yes, sir. So, or you can put a Coke in there, or Dr. Pepper. So find us, follow us. Then the second thing I'm going to ask for is your vote in November. It's very important, not only your vote, but to get your neighbor, your best friend, your person down the street that you don't really want to talk to, but get them to go vote. And then the last thing is that just like Beto and all the other, Kim Olson, Mike Collier, all of us survive on your donations and in your giving. That puts gas in our tank to get us through the state to spread our message. And our message is so very important this year. It's a message of unity. It's a message of being a Texan, being an American, and taking care of everyone in our communities. So thank you so much, and God bless Texas, and God bless America.
Thank you. I can't resist saying some of my friends told me it would be a cold day and you know where before I got Democratic candidates to show up in Glasscock County. And look at the crowd. Okay, our next speaker, our next candidate, Congressman Beto O'Rourke. Beto is a 4th-generation Texan born and raised in El Paso. He graduated from Columbia University and worked in New York for a few years until he got homesick and came back to his hometown to start a small technological company. Outside of work, the congressman became deeply involved in the civic, business, and community efforts in El Paso. He ran for El Paso City Council in 2005 and served for 2 terms before running for U.S. Congress in 2012, taking on and beating an 8-term incumbent. He knocked on thousands of doors and had real conversations face-to-face with El Paso voters. Congressman O'Rourke serves on the House Committees for Armed Services and Veterans Affairs. He's made it a priority to work across the aisle to secure bipartisan support for legislation because he knows our country is at its best when we can put party aside to work together, build consensus, and find common ground. The congressman and his wife Amy, who is here today, are raising their 3 children, Ulysses, Molly, and Henry, in El Paso. With that, I am pleased to welcome Congressman Beto O'Rourke.
Thank you very much. I may try this without a microphone if that's okay. And first of all, let me just thank you for welcoming us here today. AM for organizing this, Karen for helping to make it happen, having some donuts for us as we come in the door, some hot coffee, some flowers for Amy, Jennie Lou and your team for the extraordinary campaign that you're running. We see you on the road everywhere. We were at a town hall together 4 weeks ago in Stephenville, and at Jack and Jill Cafe, 300 people. I mean, the room was just packed. There were people spilling out. There were people outside who had given up, could not get in. And we just had this fantastic conversation about the future of this country and what each of us was going to do to make sure that it's a great future for everyone, especially the youngest people in this room and in our lives. And just over the last couple of days, we saw Jennie Lou at some of these campaign visits and town halls, but we had a great town hall in San Saba, a wonderful town hall in Brady, Texas. And then we had some opportunities to meet with the county judges, the elected leaders in some of these counties. In Runnels County, I had a chance to be with Judge Hilliard. And I sit down with the judge, and he may be a Republican, I'm a Democrat, but we can be civil with one another, as Jennie Lou says that we need to be, and listen to one another. And I ask him, what's on your mind? Tell me what's going on here in Runnels. And he says, I'll tell you what's on my mind. I'm concerned about where you are on the Second Amendment. And I got to tell you that was tough, who will then turn around and use them in our churches, in our schools, in our concerts. But we listened to one another and had a chance to talk the issue out. And I said, Judge, what you and I are doing right now is what we are unable to do, incapable of doing in Congress. I've been in Congress for 5.5 years, and we've had 0 debates or discussions about gun safety and gun violence. And so you and I are doing something that Congress is incapable of doing. And then we got around to some other issues that we might have in common, whether that's public education or jobs or attracting young people back to some of these smaller communities, giving them a reason to come back. And the judge had done his homework. He said, listen, I know that you started a business. I know where you went to college. I know that you served on the city council. And I know that you were in a punk rock band. And he said, you almost lost me there with the punk rock stuff, but you got me on some of these other things. But I tell you what, I don't know if the judge is going to vote for us in November, but I sure learned a lot from being there and listening to the judge. And I'm glad that I did that, as we did when we were in Coke County and got to sit down with Judge Blair and Robert Lee and just learned about his life and what it's like to farm and to ranch there, to work in the oil business in that county, and to go to Dripping Springs, where he said, you got to go see this. We were looking at the painting on the courthouse wall, and he says, I can tell you exactly where that is. And he gave Amy, my driver/wife, the directions to Dripping Springs. And we just took a beautiful picture there yesterday with the campaign group. So this is really a fantastic experience for us, for all of us who are part of this campaign. And AM, you have made it much more special by inviting us to be here today. And the conversation that we'll have right now, that will stay with me, not just on the campaign trail, not just as a candidate, and not just hopefully as your next U.S. Senator so that I can deliver for Glasscock County and everyone here, but really just as a person, as a human being, because if nothing else, this campaign and this experience has, it's absolutely renewed or deepened my faith in us, in people, in the people of Texas specifically. So many good folks, as Jennie Lou said, who come from both sides of the aisle, all faiths and backgrounds, all walks of life, all life experiences. And I know that we are going to do something really terrific, really special for Texas and for the country come November. I know all of us get to be a part of that. So thank you for having us here today. And if it's okay with AM, I'd love, in the interest of time, just to make sure we make the most of it and allow me to listen to you and hear what's on your mind. And if you've got a question for me or Amy or Jennie Lou, I know all of us would love to answer your questions or hear what's on your mind or get your suggestions and find out what we can do to work together to do better for everyone in Texas. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, and if you raise a hand, I'll call on you, and we'll take the conversation from there. Yes, sir.
Okay, since nobody else wants to ask a question yet, I'll kick it off by saying I feel like we really need to figure out a plan to save Social Security, because we know that the people in Congress now, particularly our congressman here, Mike Conaway, wants to slash Social Security. He's told us that we can't afford it. And I know there are ways we can do it.
Who are saying that because we have $20 trillion in debt, and because we're going to add $2 trillion more due to this tax bill alone, that will send the tax savings and benefits to the very wealthiest, to the corporations, that we're going to have some pressure on the federal budget and on what they refer to as entitlements, what we know to be earned benefits. And so they're thinking about reorganizing, restructuring, and basically undermining that compact that we have with one another. So we cannot just be on the defense and say that we got to protect Social Security, as important as that is. I think we have to go on the offense to make sure that that program is there, not just for this generation, but for every generation that follows. And I'm a co-sponsor of a bill called the Social Security 2100 Act, which ensures that that program is viable well enough so that that program is solvent well past the year 2100. But Cynthia, if you'd help me get a specific answer to you on that, I should know what that cap is. Thank you for asking. Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you this question again in Midland. When the writer for the Midland Reporter-Telegram is in the audience, I hope. But your opponent was in Midland several days ago, and he again libeled you and the Democratic Party, claiming you want to give amnesty to the Dreamers and by implication to the other undocumented immigrants. And of course, he's framing the issue. I've never heard anybody say amnesty.
Right.
They're going to have to go through the citizenship process as everyone else would. Amnesty means just, welcome and you're a citizen. Please explain to the Republicans, through the paper, through the writer, that we're not offering them amnesty. And what are the steps they'll have to take?
I'll start with perhaps the most urgent issue, which is that we have a lot of young people who were born in another country, but came here at an age before anyone can comprehend citizenship. A year old, 3 years old, 5 years old, and have become every bit as American as anyone else in the room. Going to Texas Tech, serving in the armed forces, teaching in our public schools. Everywhere we go in Texas, we're meeting Dreamers because there are more than 200,000 who call this state their home. And they want to do everything they can to make this the greatest country that we can possibly be. And they serve in all different capacities. And the people of Texas get that. And I've maybe shared with you the anecdote of being in Booker, Texas, at the very tip top of the Panhandle, and meeting people who are deeply concerned about Dreamers, though that's a Republican conservative community, because they just had a young Dreamer deported back to his country of origin, and they know that they've lost out on the potential that that young man would have brought to Booker, Texas, to the United States of America. So more than 1 million Dreamers need to be protected not only from deportation, but need to be given the opportunity to contribute to their full potential with all the talent that they have, all the experience that they can bring to bear on the success of this country as United States citizens. That cannot come at the expense of a border wall that would cost $30 billion, that would be built on private property here in Texas, on ranches, on farms, on homesteads. We'd have to use the government's power of eminent domain to take Texans' property from them. And whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you don't want to see that kind of government overreach, that kind of government boondoggle in the tens of billions of dollars at a time of record security and safety on the U.S.-Mexico border, on the Texas-Mexico border. In addition, we want to make sure that those who've been here working the toughest jobs, and Amy and I met folks working at a cotton gin in Roscoe, Texas, right next to Sweetwater, who are doing the jobs that no one born in Roscoe, Texas or Sweetwater is willing to do. Just like when we were in Quanah, Texas, and meeting those who were picking the cotton, doing the jobs that no one born in Quanah, Texas wanted to do. Our economy, the jobs that we are creating in addition to those the immigrants are working, depend on being able to attract and retain those who want to come from a different country, make the difficult decision to be here, and contribute to, not take from, our success. And they should be able to do so out from the shadows. One, that's good for us. We then know who's in this country. And they are able to get right with the law. Two, they're able to contribute far more than they're already doing right now in our own image. I think that's the opportunity that we have before us. And so appreciate you asking the question and giving me a chance to answer it. Amen.
Congressman, a couple of months ago in this very room, Congressman Conaway was having a town hall meeting. Margaret Williams asked him the question, what could be done about the high rate of infant mortality in Texas? The congressman said, ban abortion. That's not what the question is about. What can we do to improve health services for children and to their mothers.
A couple of ideas that will help us to save more lives. We lead the country in the rate of maternal mortality, and in some areas, we were in Arlington, Texas not too long ago, the rate of maternal and infant mortality. It's ground zero. So hard for women to get a cervical cancer screening or to see a provider or to get the family planning help that will allow them to make the best decisions for themselves, their kids, their families, that we're losing them at an alarming rate. And for African American women, the mortality rate is 3 times as high. So expanding Medicaid, getting to universal health care where we guarantee quality health care for every single one of us who lives in this state and this country, and then making sure that we get behind the women of the state and that they have access to.
And it's usually sepsis of some kind, but there is a difference between live births and abortions, which he didn't seem to understand. Yes.
I think that's why we need more women leading in this state, in this country. It's why I'm really glad that Jennie Lou
Can I speak to that? So I'm from Llano County.
Come on up, Jennie.
And so what a lot of people don't realize is rural Texas, we're losing our health providers, we're losing our clinics, we're losing our hospitals, because what pays those bills is Medicaid. And when Medicaid is being reduced, then those bills aren't being able to be paid, so people aren't staying, they're closing everything down. What also you need to realize is that our rural community hospitals are being purchased by the larger hospitals, and they're no longer cost efficient, and they're closing them down. The best example I can give you is my own hospital in Llano. The majority of the people will skip going there because they consider it a holding tank while they're calling around for beds. And Scott and White at 71281 or Temple or Austin, they'll rather just scoop up and take their loved ones and take the chance because you don't know what's going to happen at the local hospital. What happens in a lot of the rural communities is they hold you until you need the helicopter. And what you have to understand is on the corporate level, those hospitals do have a line item on those helicopters, and they're $30,000 a trip.
Wow.
And if you haven't done the little check mark on your personal insurance, then you're responsible for that. So there's a lot that goes into the rural healthcare that a lot of people don't realize. But when you're losing your clinics and you're losing your doctors and you're losing your hospitals, it's because in the rural Texas, that care is being paid for by Medicaid. And when that goes away and when that's cut, you're losing your health care. When we lose our health care, then we have sick children that go to school, we have people that go to work sick, or when they stay home because they don't have medicine, then that impacts the person who owns the business. Where we were at yesterday, I was talking to a waitress after you guys left, and we were talking about, if her child is sick, then she has to stay at home. So now we have a sick child who's not in school learning. We have a mom who is an hourly wage, who is not earning her wage. And then we have a restaurant who is short a waitress. So it's just all a domino effect, and it's not a positive domino effect. That if we just did increase Medicaid throughout the state, if we just would have expanded it, we could keep our rural health care, and it would keep our state healthier. And education, as y'all know, if you follow me, I consider the building block of our nation. So if we're smart and we're educated, that means our kids have stayed in school. I mean, it's just all works together.
And I think this is a great opportunity for all of us, and I hope, I'm glad that we're Democrats. I hope they're also Republicans, and I hope there are independents here as well. And if not, we gotta, as you suggested earlier, listen to them, bring them into this. But we really have an opportunity, just along the lines of what you said, to be the champions for rural Texas. You reminded me yesterday that Llano does not have broadband internet.
No.
Hard to finish your education, hard to look for a job.
No high-speed.
No high-speed internet. Hard to start a business. Hard to be at your full potential when you don't have access to that. The Democratic Party, 3 parts. The Democrats were the ones who were fighting for small-town Texas, fighting for rural health care when last year 6 rural hospitals shut down. I don't hear, the majority talking about how we expand Medicaid and make sure more people have access to care. That's our opportunity. quality public school education, making sure those public school teachers not only earn a living wage, but that they don't have to fear that their tax dollars are going to be privatized into vouchers and sent to private schools. That's our opportunity.
I mean, a lot of people just focus on the urban and the cities, but rural Texas, I mean, my family thinks they're important. I know y'all's families think they're important. So why should we not have the same opportunities that a child in the city does? And I was visiting with the superintendent last year who said, you know, he handed me over a 100-page document that he had filed with TEA and with a couple of people in Austin because their school didn't buy textbooks. They bought licenses for online textbooks. They didn't have the service capabilities for their school children at school to access their textbooks via the computer. They had to make a deal with the library, which was the only place in town that had high-speed internet. And I said, so how are your kids learning? How are they accessing to do their homework? We have one library in town. And he said, well, that's what this document is I just handed you. There's no excuse for that in Texas.